soul of a wildflower. Sacred soul of a wildflower. Sacred soul of a wildflower. To thine own self must be true. Hello wolves, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining me here on episode 3 of the Inside My Mind series. I am so grateful to have you here with me, and honestly I can't even believe we're already on week 3 because honestly time just flies by and I don't really know where it goes. Today, the tarot card for this piece of writing is the 9 of Wands. And today's piece is titled The Anatomy of a Hater. And when you look at this card, this person looks very much guarded, right? And that's what the 9 of Wands represents. It can represent even, right? The sense of guardedness, the sense of needing to protect yourself from something. If you look closer, you could even get the translation intuitively of like this person kind of looking at someone or something else in a sort of disdain, right? In a sort of envy even. But this card can also represent, perseverance and a need to fight, a need to prepare, a need to even also put down the guardedness, right? A sense of passion, a sense of defense for self is what this can represent too. The anatomy of a hater. There is a deeply held wound inside the vessel of a hater. A hater is filled with shame and a tangle of frustrations and disappointments with both themselves and the way they view life here on earth. It can be hard to hold, but there is a loving compassion to be held for a hater. A hater desires to genuinely love and be loved, but they don't know how because of their inner entanglements. Fears, doubts, anxieties, and self-protectors. Their inner realm isn't very clear. It may feel empty and barren, but it's actually quite full of gunk. Gunk that they fear has no outlet or space to be held. I can understand why a hater chooses to project instead of heal. Make others feel like shit instead of sitting with themselves. Make others feel like shit instead of sitting with it themselves. It's easier. And when you're that tied up, the easy route is the better route. Especially when you don't have the energy in your body to give to not projecting. Energy is emotional. Your emotions are energies in motion. And while a hater isn't feeling their feelings, they are suppressing, repressing, and regressing, regretfully. So when they see a light, a warrior, a baddie, gender not being a factor, it reminds them of all of this hidden energy inside the body, the pain inside. It triggers this carefully curated web of disguises that they have. Because the body is always keeping score, even if you're not, even if they think they are not. So when interacting with a hater and or witnessing one in action, Be sure to look under the surface. Be sure to witness their anatomy. And now I'm going to go through and underline some things that I want to elaborate on or just point out to you. So, I say here there is a deeply held wound inside the vessel of a hater. You know, we all are simply vessels for our souls. You see this body, this face, this skin, these glasses, but really it's just a vessel. Inside of me is a soul. That's why my channel is titled now Sacred Soul of a Wildflower, because I recognize and I realize through my evolution that I am a soul. We are souls first and foremost that operate in these human vessels. I'm just a vessel. You're just a vessel. Haters are just a vessel. They hold vessels. A hater is filled with shame and a tangle of frustrations and disappointments. Shame tangles us up. Shame boxes us in. And haters, well, they carry lots of shame and lots of inner limitations, which is why they are so tangled up. With both themselves and the way they view life here on earth. How you view life is how you're going to live and operate in life. If you view life in a very limiting and restrictive and harsh way, that is going to be your reality. You know, it's no wonder haters are miserable, right? And misery loves company. So that's where the projection comes in, but nonetheless, how you view life here on earth is what you will experience. And if you view it limited, you will experience inner limitations as well. And then feel a type of way when you see the opposite. But there is a loving compassion to be held for a hater. There really is loving compassion to be held for a hater. Because when you look below the surface, they are really in pain. You know, they are really suffering. And I, much like everyone else in the world, knows what it's like to suffer. Knows what it's like to feel like there is no one there to be for them, to help them, to love them, to care for them. And it's not true, but it's a feeling. And like I said, haters don't like to feel. Not necessarily by choice, but also by choice. You know? We all have choices. It may feel empty and barren, but it's actually quite full of gunk. We're all full of gunk, but it's about what we choose to do with the gunk. We're all full of something, but it's about what we choose to do with it. And haters, well, they don't really know what to do with it. They don't have the energy to really move it. They don't have the want to really move it because, again, the easy route is projecting, is pointing the finger, is making others feel just like they feel. Because what? Misery loves company. And it's sad, but it's the truth. I can understand why a hater chooses to project. Exactly that. I get it. You know, it is easier to project It is easier to project. You don't have to deal with your own things when you project. You don't have to look inside when you project. You don't have to feel your own feelings when you project, right? But when you heal, you have to look at all the gunk. You have to look at all the pain. You have to look at your perspectives. You have to look at the shame, the entanglements. And haters aren't interested in doing that. They want to live easier. They want to live miserably, not freely. Your emotions are energies in motion. Your emotions are energy in motion. So if you're not feeling your emotions, you're creating stagnant, dense energy in your body, in your energetic field. And when that happens, well, you start accumulating density inside. Because you're suppressing and repressing your feelings and emotions, and you're not moving the energy, you're not crying, you're not feeling, you're not healing. And when you have so much density inside of you, it's easy for a demonic or lower level energy to seep inside your wounding and start operating with you. And when you don't tame it because you don't tend to your emotions, that's how haters have that downfall. You know, they stay on the decline instead of the uprise or the incline, right? That was a weird thing to say, but that's just really what came out of my mouth, so we'll roll with it. But you know what I mean? It's interesting because it's like all a hater really has to do is feel their emotions, move their energy. But because they don't want to move their energy, because they feel stagnant, because they are stagnant inside, they project that stagnancy onto others to then get them to stay stagnant, you know? It's like if somebody comments something negative on somebody's post, they weren't doing that to uplift them. They weren't doing that to encourage them, to get them moving, to keep them going forward. They were doing that to stagnate them, to repress them and suppress them. Just like how the hater feels inside. And that's the interesting anatomy of a hater, isn't it? We always look outside the hater like, oh, okay, well, they just said this to me, right? We get in our wounded egos, not realizing that that has nothing to do with us. And that's where the integration of the ego comes in. The integrated ego, rather, comes in. Because you realize the anatomy of a hater is that it had nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. They are suppressing, repressing, regressing, regretfully. You know, haters don't necessarily want to be haters, like I mentioned, but it's almost like you do so much hating, you do so much suppressing and repressing and regressing that it's like you almost get stuck there, you know? You almost don't know what to do. You don't know how to get out. And if you consider getting out, you're like, no, I can't get out because it's just comfortable being miserable, being a hater. And so haters regretfully are suppressing, repressing, and regressing. If they could be like that person they went and commented that negative comment on, they would be, right? But they don't see it like that. And again, it's all about that view on life. And what do? Project that regret outward as negativity, hatred, spite, vengeance. It triggers this carefully curated web of disguises. A hater is carefully curated. You think that they're just so seamlessly and easily commenting these hateful things, Little do you know the person behind the screen is wearing so many disguises. A lot of times they don't even have a profile picture, right? It's because they're in disguise, online and in real life. Your hater can be your own friend, your own family member. And that's the thing, your own lover. Hater isn't limited to any sort of label, but they can mask up, they can be disguised. And this light, this baddie energy that is the opposite of what the hater embodies and is, it triggers that in their body, in their anatomy, which is why they're so upset and they get so enraged. Energy, emotions are energy in motion. It's their emotions that they don't know how to regulate. And if you don't know how to regulate that, your body is going to be all out of whack. It's almost like disassociation, you know? You disassociate because you don't know how to regulate your emotion in that period, space, and time. The body is always keeping score. Your body speaks, our bodies speak. Very much so. Our bodies are always talking to us, but are we listening? Again, the hater isn't moving energy around, so their body is just piling up things. So when they're triggered, they're really triggered. When they're hurt, they're really hurt. Even irrationally, right? Because did that person deserve that? No. But because the hater felt it so viscerally in their body, came out. Be sure to look under the surface. Be sure to witness their anatomy. It's like, what I wanted to point out in this piece is like seeing haters for what they are and not what they present themselves to be. You know, haters present themselves to be very, ooh, big and bad, scary, I can dominate you, I'm better than you, you're bad. But really, it's like, wait a minute. If I look under the surface of you, there's actually more than meets the eye. If I see you for what you truly are, you don't have power over me anymore. And you hate powerlessness. That's how you get your power, by trying to overpower and hurt me. So wolves, so we can recognize the anatomy of a hater and take it for what it is instead of what our wounded egos versus our integrated egos want it to be. We can recognize and witness the truth and free ourselves from the shackles of that judgment and projection and internalization. You do not have to take anything personal that a hater says. If you can look deeper and look closer at who they really are and what they're really expressing. So I thank you for joining me here once again, and keep howling, keep being you, and know you belong here, regardless of what a hater has to say. You will wake up another day, and if God is for you, well, who can be against you, right?